Jelly drum kit. There you go. An inflatable one.
Yeah, yeah. You can only play it once. It just explodes.
Some guests are serious, some are really funny. What are you waiting for? Come and get this honey. It's absolute bedlam, absolute bedlam, absolute bedlam. Join the hype, like and subscribe.
Hello and welcome to another wet and windy version of Absolute Bedlam podcast. Nearly coughed already. That was a good start, wasn't it? Yeah, so tonight, I think this one's probably been like 5 months in the making. We've got Robert Brian, who's a session drummer and solo artist himself. Rob, how's it going?
Hi Ben, I'm good, man. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm all right, thanks. I've had such a lazy day today. Like, long story short, I've just come back from Centre Parks last night
Oh, right.
and I booked the day off work today thinking, oh, I'll get my life together and, you know, but this
Hello, mate.
weather's just disabled all ambition and I've entered like a walking thing with work to like try and
Okay,
do like 7,000 steps a day. I've probably
excellent.
done about 600 today just because it's just been so crazy outside. And
Yeah, it doesn't make you want to
yeah,
do much, does it?
no,
Today wasn't the day to change your life, really, was it? I'm afraid. It
no.
wasn't the start of the beginning. Yeah.
Hmm. Exactly that. But I have managed to do some washing, so it's not a
Ah.
complete waste of time.
Oh, well,
But
that's
yeah,
good. I've been in the studio today, so
yeah,
I've done something reasonably worthwhile too.
yeah, it's good. Yeah, I find sometimes when I'm stuck in this room, it gets a bit like I need to just go out and like buy free things from Aldi. Like I
Go
just need
down
to,
that center aisle with all the
yeah,
weird stuff and
yeah,
treat
yeah,
yourself. You
yeah,
know, come back with, all kinds of crazy stuff, a
yeah,
snorkel
yeah,
and all sorts of weird stuff you might not
yeah,
ever need.
yeah. Just get in the car for 10 minutes and just spin about a bit and come back. But yeah,
Well,
all
there's
good.
something to be said for that, going out and clearing the head and getting
Hmm.
fresh air is, yeah, it's always on my list of things to do as
Hmm.
well. I've got like a green space just up the road here, and I just go up there and have a walk around, and
Hmm.
you come back feeling so much better. And I get so many
True.
ideas when I'm doing that as well.
Yeah, even if you're not expecting them, they kind of hit you, don't they?
Yeah, you
They knock
just
at your
literally
door.
clear the head.
Hmm. Absolutely. So the first couple of questions I tend to ask most guests on the podcast are school related.
Oh,
So,
okay.
how did you find school life? And can you remember any naughty things that happened at school, even if they weren't necessarily directly to do with you?
Oh, yeah, I can. Yeah. What was the first one? How did I find
How did
school?
you find it overall? Was it a net positive or?
Um, Friendship making,
Hmm.
and peer groups. I think this is probably going to be a general thing anyway. But yes, dealing with bullies, meeting friends that were friends for life, up to this point, since I was five. Unfortunately, one of them passed away last year, so we had to say goodbye to him. And he was the friend I met on my very first day in the sandpit. When
Hmm.
your mum leaves and you got to
Hmm.
wave her off, he was the one that literally my mum said, he held my hand and said, "It's all right, we can play." And well, that's a sad story now, isn't it, really? But he passed
Oh,
away last year. So for that, it was brilliant for understanding how friendships work. Being able to work on music with other people, that was really good. Academically, I've avoided that bit so far. I did okay. I think I was average. I wasn't above average.
hmm.
I tried my best. Schools in the late 70s, early 80s, were nowhere near like they are now. And things sort of slipped under the bridge, if you
Hmm.
like. People didn't see certain things. And I think I could have done with a little bit more help here and there. But
Hmm.
generally, what happened was you were taken out of your normal class and you were put in they called it a remedial class.
Hmm.
And instantly, everyone at school took the mick out of you. And you
Hmm.
ended up in these mobiles away from the rest of the school as if you were like some sort of leper.
Hmm.
And so for mathematics, that shows you how old I am. I was sent to one of those. And of course, the minute you come back, everyone's like, oh, thicko, idiot, remedial. Ooh. And that stressed me out, and that wasn't great. But again, I learned how to deal with that kind of teasing,
Mm.
and it teaches you a lot. So I come out very, very average, but I always said to everybody, it's corny, but everyone at our career conventions, I always said, I'm going to be a musician. And they all laughed at me and said, of course you are. What do you really want to do?
Mm.
And I'm one of those people that said, actually, I'll show you that I can do it.
Yeah.
So looking back, rose tinted glasses, it was brilliant, but there was some, bullying and some horrific things that went on, like any childhood.
Yeah.
Naughty things.
Mm.
Our school wasn't particularly very good back in the day. It's a lot better now. It's an academy now. It's a lot
Mm.
posher. Um, but yeah, when the sixth form used to leave, when I was in the first year, what's that now? Year, what do they call that now? 13 or 14? I don't know how they do it these days. But the
Yeah.
old-fashioned first year, so you'd do one, two, three, four, and then you'd start at primary. Then you
Mm.
would start again in secondary, one, two, three, four, five, and then six. So when the sixth formers left, one particular year they went absolutely nuts and they turned cars over and did all sorts of naughty things.
Wow.
Um, we were pretty good. I was one of those guys that hung in with the naughties to make
Mm.
sure they didn't bully us. Me,
Mm.
Ian, who passed away, me, Ian, and Phil. Phil, thankfully, is still rocking. And Darren, we stayed with the cool guys, the trainer gang, the footy people. We stayed in with the nerds. We stayed in with everybody.
Mm.
And that was part of my education, being able to do a bit of everything, but still be our own little unit. And we didn't really get up to much, there's probably some funny stories, but there's some, yeah, not really mega
Yeah.
ones I could tell you, but yeah.
I think Carl's getting tipped over is pretty good. We could probably stop
Yeah,
there.
can I just say it wasn't me and it wasn't my sister. She was in that year, and it wasn't her, but I think we know who it was. But
Yeah.
yeah, there's always naughty things that goes on at school. We got
Yeah.
blamed for some things that
Yeah.
weren't very fair, but
Mm.
that's a whole nother story. It was always, no, those three over there going into assembly, and we're like, what? And it's like, you three set fire to this, or you three left the
Mm.
taps on in the science lab. It's like, no, we didn't, but we got
Yeah.
dobbed in for stuff we didn't do.
I don't think I've mentioned this one in a while, so I'm just going to rejuvenate it. Apologies if people have heard this one before, if they are hardcore bedlamers. But I'm very, very sensible, and I've always been very true north with my behavior, and I try not to get sort of peer pressured and influenced by other people. But I remember, funnily enough, it was raining like this one afternoon at school, and we were all told to stay inside and not go outside.
Right.
So everyone had their own sort of agenda as to what that hour looked like. Some people were reading, some people were catching up on work and stuff, but I was probably like 12 or 13. And at one point during the lunch hour, about 30 minutes in, people just started throwing shit. And I thought, uh-oh, this is crazy. Like, does not compute. And I plucked up the courage to throw a rubber, and that's
Right.
an eraser for all the people from America that are listening. And as I threw it, the teacher walked in, opened the
Oh,
door, walked in, and got smacked with a rubber.
He's a very naughty boy.
And I just thought to myself, this is why I don't partake in the herd mentality, sort of, the rabble rousers. And I got a detention.
completely.
And it's the only
Completely.
detention I ever got. And I felt awful. And because sometimes if you only get one, it actually feels worse than getting like seven or eight
Agreed.
because it's just part of your routine at that point, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
remember having to do the classic thing, the Bart Simpson thing of writing on the blackboard, I will
Oh,
not disrupt the class, like 80
oh,
times.
no.
But
It's
yeah,
the same. Many times teachers turned round as loads of other people were talking, and I just happened to be talking to somebody, and it was like, Robert, why are you always talking? It's like, oh my God,
yeah,
that happened to me so many times. It's like I just felt like, really, is this a thing? And I just thought the only really naughty thing we did once was we had a nativity play on. I think it must have been in the first or second year, and one of the girls had brought their dolly in, and it was in the crib and everything, and me and him were helping set the thing up. And I remember Ian pushing the doll's face in, and it was all kind of
mm,
distorted. And then when we came to see the show, it was still like it. So it's like, hail the baby Jesus, and then it's this, the doll's
yeah,
face all pushed in, looking like, oh.
love
And that
that.
just came to me. That was quite
Yeah,
funny. Me and Ian trying to, not wet
yeah.
ourselves. It was
Oh,
hilarious.
that's the
Good
worst
days.
though. That's the worst when you can't laugh. Just you're literally like turning into a cranberry, like
But
sort
but
of violently
but
shaking.
but there was another thing I remember, just very briefly,
Yeah.
was in 1980, I think it was December 9 or 10, whenever John Lennon got shot. We
Mm,
all remembered this. Some of us met not long ago and we talked about this. We remembered going into school, and at 10 years of age or 11, most of us hadn't heard of the Beatles or anything. We listened to Duran Duran and Top of the Pops and the Police and stuff and Blondie and Gary Newman for me.
mm,
Maybe the Monkees. We saw them on Saturday on Swap Shop. No, 11 at Swap Shop or something.
mm, mm,
But I remember when he died, all the teachers were crying, and well, not all, but a lot of them. And we
mm,
went into this assembly, and the head teacher, as they say now, but the headmaster was playing these 45s, these singles, and we were like, "What are we listening to this for?" And he explained about this important person that had passed away. And I remember going, or well, shot, murdered.
mm.
I remember going home that night, and BBC changed all of its viewing that night from Nationwide and all the other programs that were on to all Beatle-rated stuff.
Mm,
And I remember that being something that really stuck with me. And doing other drum clinics and just being a musician, working with
mm,
other musos about my age, I've mentioned this, and other people have gone, same for me when I was
mm,
up in Manchester or something. Our school, our teachers, it was quite a thing. And that always sticks in my head. I
mm,
mean, it's not a funny thing, but
mm,
just all of us feeling that and not knowing who he was really until after that event. And then, of
mm.
course, we all knew who he was. But
Yeah.
yeah, that was the thing I always remember from school. That was
Mm.
that, yeah, quite upsetting, but quite striking memory.
Yeah. It's like a tremor that went across the UK rather than just an isolated locality thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Mm.
and as I say, that probably, I mean, I'm not comparing it to any World War events or
Yeah.
September the 11th, right, or nothing like that.
Mm,
Because I
mm,
remember where I was then. But it was just one of those moments anyway, and it's school related. And yeah, even people that aren't fans of necessarily him or the music were like at my age now going, yeah, I remember that day. Wasn't it weird? And
mm.
it really was weird. The world sort of did change again at that
Yeah.
point.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah.
So as someone that's done a lot of session work and a lot of drum clinics,
Hmm.
is your drum kit specifically tailored to you, or could at this point where you've obviously had at least 10,000 hours, could you use someone else's and still be proficient, or do you have like everything flat or everything exactly as
Um,
it needs to be?
there's something to be said sometimes for going on and just playing another person's setup and trying to make it work,
Mm,
digging deep, and making something happen. But of course, we would sooner have things roughly where we want them to be. There have been times I've had to do that, and people have said, "Don't change it. You could use my gear, but please don't change it." And they go,
mm,
"Okay." And you make it work, and you surprise yourself. So
mm,
that's kind of cool. But I think for me, with a traditional grip, I can play it if the snare's facing up. It's a bit weird because it's coming at you like this. So I do like my snare angled. It's quite severely for some people, I suppose.
mm.
But yeah, if possible, I would prefer to be able to get up there and do my thing.
Yeah.
I've got a few left foot things that I do with a cowbell on the left hand side or a tambourine, whatever I put in that auxiliary left
Mm,
foot pedal clamp, headed tambourine or jam block. If someone hasn't got that, I'll just do them on the hi-hat and just use the hi-hats doing the same thing. So,
mm,
I can always work it. And as I say, that's no bad thing for creativity, making you do it on the spot. But yeah, I would sooner prefer to have what I've got. But I'm not one of these drummers like Terry Bozzio that needs this rig to kind of do his thing, I guess. I enjoy when I'm practicing working on just a four-piece jazz kit because you're limited with the tones. And it means you
mm.
have to do more. That's why a lot of my shorts and reels are just on a four piece. And if I want to change the tone, I've got to bend the note by putting the stick into the head, things like that.
Yeah.
Whereas on my normal clinic kit, I would have a snare, bass drum, two rack toms, sometimes two floor toms, auxiliary hi-hat to my right, which I
Mm,
move my right foot across to, which I know is a bit crazy, but I do that, you know. And that's great. And when I'm in that zone, which I'll be doing at the Dorset Drum Show coming up
mm,
soon,
mm.
that's fine. I can get into that world. But as I say, those extra tones. But when I haven't got that, it makes me dig even deeper. So I think, oh, when I have got these extra tones, I could do this.
Mm.
So, it's kind of like, I mean, some people have said, doesn't that feel like you've got sort of shackles on or something? And it really doesn't for me. It really doesn't. Sometimes when I've got too much in the creative process early on, it's too much. I just want to start messing about and there's my slap clap thing
Yeah.
over there, whatever it's called. I'll play that thing,
Yeah.
my stack. And it's like, no, 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 no. Only go
Mm.
to the stack when you need to go to your stack. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I've got a question a little bit later about this because I interviewed a guy from the Devon Townsend project a couple of months back. I seem to be on a bit of a drummer run at the moment.
right.
And asked him sort of what drummers he's looking at the moment. And funnily enough, I asked Clive at Dorchester.
Oh, what did he say?
He was mentioned, well, he kind of turned the question around to me.
Oh,
He did mention a jazz drummer, but his name escapes me, unfortunately, because
okay,
I just find those drum clinics to be so like, unless I'm literally taking notes, then I'm getting so much absorption of information because I'm not a drummer. So I just
right.
go because I think that it's exciting to watch something.
Yeah.
And sometimes I think it's exciting that people know where Dorchester is, if I'm completely honest.
Oh,
You
I
know?
remember Dorchester. I used to drive
Yeah,
through there with my father on the way
yeah,
to
yeah.
Weymouth. So
But
going through that part of the world's like going not
yeah,
home. That's too
yeah,
much, but
yeah.
I'm aware of it.
But the two drummers I mentioned to him as two from Sleep Token, who are a heavy metal band, an anonymous
Okay.
heavy metal band, and they win so many awards. They're huge.
Okay.
And there's also a guy from a band called Russian Circles, who's a guy called Dave Turnokratz, and he
Okay.
uses an incredibly minimalistic drum kit. And they're a three-piece sort of instrumental band. And the
Nice.
guitarist is looping layers, and the bassist is like switching between baritone guitar and bass, and it's really, really interesting. I'll send you some links, but
Yes, I was
I
going to
just
say,
find
could
him
you? Because that's great.
so proficient, and I do
Mm.
sometimes I do feel sorry for the free symbols that he uses because they must just be getting smashed constantly into oblivion. Obviously, you see people like Neil Peart, and he's got like a whole village of a postcode attached to him, you know. Um,
Absolutely.
Yeah, awesome. So, drumsticks question for you. Do you hold your drumsticks in a conventional sense? Or is there, because there's like two ways of holding drumsticks, isn't there? There's like a sort of chopstick-esque way of doing it.
Yeah.
And then there's a
Traditional.
straight, like hands, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, on the front of it, there are just two grips. There's traditional, which is you say where the stick goes through
Yeah,
here, which is what the old marching drummers used to use, and then the
yeah,
jazz drummers. And I use it, and a lot of rock drummers still use it today. You don't have to be a jazz drummer. And
mm,
then there's match grip, whereas you say they're both the same.
mm,
But even then, with match grip, there's like a German uh, um, and like a French. And the French is where the thumbs are facing up and you're
mm,
playing in like that. And the German is where your palms are facing down. And then there's, believe it or not, there's little kind of movements between those as well that are different. So
yeah,
I kind of standard use German matched when I'm playing matched.
mm,
And I play the traditional most of the time with my left hand having the stick in that
mm,
place. I've done that since I was a kid. My dad was a jazz drummer. He taught me to play that way. And as I say, occasionally I'll swap to matched if I want to. It could be an attitude thing on a song. I suddenly want to flip it over because it just feels right.
mm,
Sometimes in the studio, engineers and producers that I work with will sometimes say, "Listen, Rob, we love what you're doing, and this has happened a few times.
yeah,
Do you mind playing the next few takes match script? Because we want Rob, but maybe only 70% Rob."
mm,
Because I haven't got as much facility matched as I have with my traditional, because that's how I've played all my life. So, I mean, I've got chops and stuff, as they say. I hate that term, but
yeah,
I
yeah,
can still play like impressively with matched. But I can't give it all my little nuances that I can with traditional. So I go back up and listen to the take or
mm,
into the next room, listen to the take, and I think, oh my God, that's me, but not. It's like my evil twin.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So it's a musical choice. I like to use both, but yeah, I would say traditional is my main
mm,
go-to, and I don't do anything particularly different. Stuart Copeland did it in a way where he didn't put it
mm,
through these two fingers, only through the one.
mm,
I've got more of an American grip on my thumb, faces up to my shoulder, whereas a lot of people like Clive play traditional, but his is quite wide. His thumb sort of faces over to the TV. Well, you can't see that, but I've got a TV.
yeah,
And nothing wrong with that. And he
yeah,
kind of brings it down in this manner, whereas I use more of my wrist and my arm flexes a bit more. But he plays great. I play great. Hopefully,
mm,
it makes no difference. But yeah, if you had to pinpoint it, American traditional grip I would use, a bit like
yeah.
Buddy Rich used to use, and people like and Vinnie Colaiuta. And did you
Mm.
want me to name some drummers a minute ago, or was that not a
We'll
thing?
get
Sorry, I
onto that in a
forgot.
bit. Yeah, that's fine. We'll get onto that in a bit.
Oh,
Because
okay,
I'm always
sorry. Yeah.
interested to know how people see the funnel of music nowadays versus, when they first came out and it was all word of mouth. But
Yes.
yeah, we'll get onto that in a bit. But going
No
back
worries.
to session work quickly, how
Yes.
easy do you find it to take criticism, and has that developed over time? If someone says to you, you need to turn the playing down by 30%, how do you
Yeah.
not take that personally?
Okay, so on my very first session, I was 21, proper session with Hugh Cornwell, who used to play in a punk band called the Stranglers. He lives in Bath. That's where I live, or used
Awesome.
to. I'm just about 10 miles from there now.
Yeah.
I was on a session with him, and they wanted me to play a rim shot on every beat. That means where you play in the center of the drum, but you know what I mean, and then hit the
Yeah.
rim at the same time. All rock drummers do it. Now,
Yeah.
I'd only played like that in jazz, and that's not full backbeat. That's just every now and again as a nuance. So I'm on this session, and in the end, the engineer and the mixing room was upstairs. So the engineer comes down to the live room, grabs a stick, and said, like this, and we started hitting the drum, and I was like, whoa. And he said, that's what we want on every beat. And I managed to pull it off, but not very well because I hadn't practiced it. And I was a busy drummer at that point around Bath and Bristol, playing in indie bands. Now, indie then was a bit like REM, that
Mhm.
sort of indie alternative as it was then, um, and jazz groups. And I felt Jack the Lad, I was like, oh, I could do a bit of this. I was getting gigs that some of the older dudes weren't getting. That I'm sort of their age now. And I drove home thinking, I didn't nail that. There was me thinking I was so darn good and I couldn't do this. So I had that experience. So that made me think, right. And also my click playing wasn't particularly up to scratch. So I went home. They didn't really have a go or anything, but they just made me feel a bit stupid. But by when he came down and did that, um, I've had a few other comments as we've gone on, and you learn to have thick skin. It hurts, if somebody's rude, and I will pick people up on it now, and I
Yeah.
have done for the last 20 years. If someone's rude, I will say, look, excuse me, I know what you're saying, but not in that tone and not in front of these people.
Mhm.
I'm sorry. And I'll say it very calmly, or if it's a heated situation, I'll stay calm and I'll just say, look, can I have a chat with you outside? Whether it be outside the tour bus or the studio. In this instance, the studio. Can we just have a chat and I'll talk about it? But yes, it hurts. I always say my case. I always say why something's happened the way it's happened. And then I'm more than happy, which is probably why I get quite a lot of work, to do exactly what they want to the actual finest detail. Now,
Yeah.
some people can't. And I've had some people say, how do you work with so and so? They're all right, whatever. And I go, yeah, they are. But I understand how they work. And I've got this weird thing, Ben, where if I'm in a situation where I don't think I'm pleasing them, I'll try my damnedest to do it
Yeah.
without losing self-respect, of course. But I want to show them. I think it probably comes from my dad when he taught me. I'm going to show you. I'm
Mm.
going to show you I can do this.
Mm.
His dad wasn't a bully or anything at all, but he used to be quite heavy on me. And I think I was always trying to get his, like we all do, like, oh, Dad, please say I'm good. So I've got that, and I'm willing to go over and above to get it. But yeah, I've had some situations which have been absolutely horrible, and I've learned to deal with it. I haven't walked out on anyone. I'm proud of that. I've seen other people do it. Um, yeah, my advice would be, you've got to see how fair it is and judge it on the situation. You can't say one situation is like everybody's. If you know it was your fault, for instance, or you were late, or you've not helped the situation, then you have to stand up. I know people that don't. I'm sure we all met musicians that go, well, I don't care. That isn't me. If you're one of those guys, well, musicians, and good on you if you can just do that. But
Yeah.
you know, you've got to be accountable for your actions.
Mhm.
And I always say to people, if you've learnt the material, you're there on time, even earlier if you can. You've got all the gear, you've asked all the relative questions, you know what you're up against. Then the rest of it is just kind of dealing with people, being able to deal with people, even that people can't deal very well with you, which is often the case. They can't explain what they want or they get uptight. I've learned so many ways of chilling them out and getting them into a certain situation. And you know what? Sometimes some people just can't be helped and you just still find your way through it and you can't wait to get out the door because you think, right, okay, they're not going to change. This is going to be a heated session.
Mhm.
They're just that way inclined. I've been told that they don't mean it and all that. But you know what? I want their money. I want to play on this
Yeah.
track. I,
Yeah.
I need to survive. I'm going to do it and I'm going to look at the clock and I'm just going to go home afterwards. And I shut the door. And there's been a few projects, I won't say any names, that have
Yeah.
been like that, and the record comes out or whatever, and you go, great.
Yeah.
And you move on.
It's
But it's
really
not easy. It's not easy.
it's really interesting though, isn't it? Because there's this horrible sense nowadays when people record that they need to get it down as soon as possible.
Right.
And time becomes the enemy. But you think when you're practicing in like a jam space or you're, practicing in your shed or something and you're just doing it for you, you've got all the time in the world. But as soon as you like join a record label, everything's like, we need this album out in 5 days. And
Yeah.
you think, well, I'm not going to be able to like perform at my best if I'm rushed.
Mm.
But also, I know a lot of musicians that go through this where they hear the mistakes and no
Mm.
one else knows.
No.
But
No.
you're like, verse two, I fuck up that drum fill. And it's like, just don't worry about it, Harry. Just chill
Exactly.
out. Just have a whiskey and let the album sell, you know? Don't go around telling everyone that you missed a certain beat, you know? But it's just a weird
Yeah.
paradoxical sort of juxtaposed position of like, we need this done yesterday. And
Yeah.
it was actually written in, 8 months, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
You just have to weigh it up. You know, you realize very quickly on a session when you're up against it that you just need to get the job done the best you can, the best it can be done with the people in the room, and keep it at that. Each of you will sometimes get an idea of we could try this, we could do that, but you've got to kind of cap it and go, we haven't got the time. And if you're dealing with an artist that might go, oh yeah, can we try it in 5/4 now? And you're like, oh no, this isn't where it should be going. It's sometimes good. The MD will sometimes say, if anything's asked, in the break or something, they'll say, if anything's asked, just keep your mouth shut. Just keep going. This is great because if you give him or her, they another opportunity to do something, we're going to be here all day, and it's feeling good right now. If it wasn't, I would tell you, but we've now got it to a really good space.
Yeah.
Let's just keep going. Keep your ideas just on what we're doing. Don't throw anything else in.
Mm.
And you have to make that call. And if I'm on a session and I haven't got that sort of camaraderie with the people, I'll
Mm.
make that call myself. I'll be thinking, oh, I know I could be doing this, but you know what? Or I could change that ride up or the hats, but you know what? No one said anything. It sounds great in the track. Just
Yeah.
leave it. Other
Yeah.
times I've gone, guys, can we stop? And I go, yeah, yeah, what's up? Can I change these hats? Now, you're not going to believe this, but these other hats are really chocolatey and could sound great. And they're like, yeah, try it. Other times when I was younger, I had people looking at me, guitarists sort of going, and I'll be like, oh no, what have I done?
Yeah.
And they're sort of stood there going, great. Another snare drum, is it? Brilliant.
Yeah.
Again, you learn on the job, but you call it yourself pretty quick. With enough experience, you know
Yeah.
what
I did see on Instagram, I think you put a snare up the other day. It was like a tequila sunrise sort of
Yeah,
color.
yeah.
Is that your current snare or is that one of many?
That's one of many. I bought it after I came back from a Siouxsie Sioux tour. I had a bit of cash on my hip, and I wanted to invest it into some more gear rather than just sat in a savings account or something. So I went to visit my mate Tristan, who runs a great shop, Dramatic, in the southwest in Frome. And of all the snares, I remember it came in and he said, "Oh, you won't want to look at this one." And we go through all these snare drums in racks. He knows I'm going to go for a 60s or 70s, probably a wood shell or a metal, be a 5 or 5.5 inches or something. He knows the sort of thing I like. Anyway, he came back in the room and I was playing on this thing, and he went, "That is so not Rob Brian." I said, "No, I know. This is so like Studio 54 or something, It's so 70s, it's 78. I
Yeah.
said, "But you know what, Tris? I'm playing this drum and I bloody love it. It sounds like nothing else in my snare drum armory. And as far as I'm concerned, if someone turns around on a track and says, 'You haven't got a Vista light, have you?' I can
Mm.
go, 'Yeah, I've got this bad boy.'" And I go, "Shit, get it on." Um, and that's why I got it. And it's not the only reason. I love those three colors as well. But I've got to be honest, when I started playing it, I thought, I'm not going to like this. And I tuned it, messed about with it, and I was like, do you know what? This sounds like nothing else. And I really love it's got a sort of soft sound to it, because it's acrylic rather than wood or metal. So I just had to have it. It's about 500 quid, but not much. So I thought, yeah, I'll have that bad boy. So now I've got it. And somebody asked me if I could do a few little videos on some of my snares. Now I haven't got a massive collection. Like Steve White has got some incredibly. I'm pointing over here because there's some over here. He's got loads of historical drums. I haven't got that sort of money to just buy
Yeah.
and have them. I really don't. So whatever I buy, I want to make sure it can be used in a session and can make money for me. And
Yeah. Yeah.
along the way, it's nice to be the keeper of these things. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
So
No,
that's
fair
what that
enough.
drum is. So yeah, definitely for the collection, and it looks pretty, and it's always on a stand just over there because everyone
Yeah.
comes in and goes, "Ooh, that's really lovely." It's quite a sexy looking thing.
Awesome. Being in Bath, how
Yeah.
has the local music scene changed post-COVID? And have you lived there for a while? And do you sort of frequently explore and meerkat your way around Bath, or is it just I need to go where the money is and the sessions are, and sometimes you potentially, in a positive way, of course, neglect your own sort of turf, if that makes sense?
I must confess, I don't very often go to gigs anymore. I've got a friend of mine, Nick Allen, who always moans at me and says, "You got to support them. You know, it's like the old days. You got to get that back." But of course, a lot of us, like you say, after COVID, we stopped going out, going back to pubs and jam sessions and
Mm.
things like that. It's just something we stopped. And I must admit, there's so many good. There's two or three good. I want to say there's loads. They've actually shut a load in Bath, really. But the three good venues that are left, they're always putting on gigs. I don't go as much as I should unless I'm playing at the venues. I certainly would not play there when people ring up and say, "Hey, it's only the Bell or the Royal Oak. Are you going to do it?" I'm like, "Yeah, of course I am. Yeah, my old stomping ground. Yeah, why the hell wouldn't I?" I mean, Bath and Bristol has always had such a healthy music scene.
Yeah.
Always. So many
Mhm.
venues, so many great musicians living close by. Sting is in Salisbury. So I say Hugh Cornwell lives in Box, which is just outside. Peter Gabriel's got his studio in Box, Real World, just outside. Um, what it's a hive of industry for music. So I never turn my back on it, and I'm always playing there or recording around there.
Mm.
And I think more needs to be done for the city. If you play an opera or classical, there's plenty of places.
Yeah.
It's a bit snooty like that. But for
Mm.
rock and roll, they've kind of closed a few of the pubs and clubs, and it's a shame. But it's still all happening there though. But
Yeah.
it's just kind of a smaller scene. But
Mm.
yeah, no, I don't turn my back on it. If there's anything I could do in Bath College, for instance, I'll always do it.
That's
Any
cool.
support of Bath Bar Uni, I'll always play at these places
That's
because I
cool.
think it's important. You know?
Yeah, definitely. You got to represent your own
Yeah,
territory and work your way
de-
out. Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've
Yeah.
got no qualms about that. Yeah, very proud of that city, really.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah,
If
very.
you ever got the chance to make your own drum gear or help develop someone like, I don't know, DW or NATO or Zildjian cymbals, etc.,
Yeah.
would you have the capacity? Obviously, it's something that you want to do, I can tell already. But would you have the
Yeah.
bandwidth as a creator slash, you know, would you be able to help that needle move as much as you wanted without sort of cutting yourself off at the knees, sort of financially?
I mean, I did have a range of cymbals made by Bosphorus Cymbals when I was working with
Cool.
them,
Nice.
and I really enjoyed that. And I didn't get any financial
Yeah.
gain from that apart from having my face
Yeah.
on the adverts. And I would always go back into that again. I mean, I'm with Vulcan symbols at the moment, and they've been superb.
Mm.
And every now and again, I get a one of one that they make just for me. It comes, so it'll come through the door.
Mhm.
It'll just turn up sometimes, and I'll open it. It's like, this is for you, one of one, and I'm like, oh my God. So I'd always throw my hat in the ring again to design symbols because no drummer's ever happy with symbols. But with I thought of this. Someone's asked me this before. Would you design a snare or a certain set with a certain word? And to be honest with you, I've always drawn a bit of a blank when it comes to drums. They've said, "What would you do?" And would you? I'm like, I've got no idea with drums because
Mm.
I've got everything that the companies are making. I'm pointing at various kits that are here now.
Yeah.
I've got it all in my vintage kits and my modern kit. I don't ever think there's something I can't get. If
Mm.
there is, I put a big fat snare head on it to get the right snare sound or dampening or a jingle ring or something. I'll make something happen. I never think I could actually get involved with a company and
Mm.
design something.
Mm.
But cymbals, definitely. Yeah. Oh my God. I
Yeah.
could spend all day with a cymbal smith saying,
Yeah.
shave a bit more off of this and
Yeah.
take a cut out of it. What would happen if you take a massive, bit out of that, all that stuff I love. I'm an anorak
Mm.
without a doubt.
Yeah.
But drum wise, I mean, I'd be very honoured if DW, because I know the guys at DW really well. Don
Yeah.
Lombardi, the boss, I was emailing him the other day.
Mm.
If he said, "Rob, we want to come up with a kit," I'd be like, "Yeah, okay." I
Yeah.
wouldn't know what to say. Make it out of rubber. I don't know.
Yeah. Jelly drum kit.
Jelly drum kit. There you go. An inflatable one.
Yeah. Yeah. You can only play it once. It just explodes.
Now
I'm in.
Keith Moon would have loved that. That would be Keith Moon's kit.
It's a bad investment, but a fun time. Yeah.
Yeah, that one
Like it.
time would be amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. Go on Jonathan Ross and just smash it up. Go off. Nirvana style.
Oh man,
Awesome.
that'd be ace.
Just a quick reminder that you're listening and watching Absolute Bedlam podcast. Please, please, please drop me a subscribe and a like and comment down below. Thank you very much. Get on it. Tell your mates. Tell your dog. Tell your family. Cheers.
Absolute bedlam. I have been a bit naughty with this one, and I've used AI. And I
Oof.
said in the last couple of episodes I wouldn't use AI to ask questions, but it was more of a discovery piece about your career.
Okay.
So I used Copilot. I'm not
Okay.
endorsed by Microsoft, but I would fucking love to be because they're rich. According to this, you were born in 1970 and you went pro in 1994. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
about there. Maybe a bit earlier than that, but yeah.
So what was it like going pro at 24 years of age?
It was scary. It was scary because I was doing little part-time jobs beforehand. I used to be a warehouseman at the M&S in Bath,
Mm,
collecting trolleys and stuff, and just working upstairs in the warehouse, never on the
mm,
tills or anything.
mm,
Um, Yeah, it was like everyone always tells you, oh, you do this, you're going to lose this, you're going to lose that, it's too dangerous, stick with a normal job and all
mm,
that. And you go out there, and after a while, you realize that there is some truth in that. It's not the most secure thing.
mm,
But then a friend of mine said, right, you need to start teaching. And I was like, right, okay. He said, you up for that? I said, I don't know. And back then, it was kind of my CV only had a few names on it, but it was like, okay, write some heads of music, send them your CV as it was then, no emails. Send it off in the post and you'll get something back. And in the end, I managed to get some schools and it was like, oh, that's good. Then I got some posh schools like Sherborne in Dorset and Millfield in Street. They're all rich, parents showing up in Maseratis or whatever, and then there's me with my Ford Sierra in the car park,
yeah, 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 yeah.
um, and then all of a sudden I got funded that way. Then I found I really liked teaching
Mm,
as well. So when I wasn't touring and sessioning, I started getting into teaching and then lecturing at BIM and stuff like that. And then I got half of my teaching lecturing degree or whatever they call it. So I've got that, which, is great. It means I can always go in and teach at a certain level. I did that at BIM, so I'm very thankful. I didn't have to pay a cent for that. That was brilliant. So yeah, but it couldn't have been done just on playing alone. Not even back then, Ben.
mm,
It really
mm,
couldn't. Unless you landed a gig that was all year round, which is
mm,
rare. I was on the road for a bit, and to be honest with you, that's just transferred through all of my life, really.
mm,
I still rely on teaching, just privately now these days, and drum clinics and master classes and sessions and playing. That is my thing,
mm,
you know. But it's unless you end up with, like Elton John or Paul McCartney or, Beyonce or someone, you end up
mm,
with one of these big players, then you're on a wage and probably a retainer, and things are golden. You don't even have to look at teaching. But, for everyone else, and there's a lot of us in that other bracket, it's a reality that after the tour's finished and you're off the aeroplane and out the
mm,
limos and out the tour bus and out of those lovely parties and everybody wants you, the minute you drop back here with your suitcase
mm,
and the milkman comes around and the postman and no one gives a shit who you are, and I remember once I came back
mm,
from playing Benicassim, which is about the size of Glastonbury. It's a big festival, right? In Europe. I came back from that. It was literally fly in, do the gig, in front of, I don't know, 40,000 people, come back, same, get up at 5 in the morning the next day, fly back to Bristol Airport, and then I was back in my house again. And I remember just sitting there and I got a knock on the door and I was really dazed and I opened the door and it was just my postman. And I remember saying to him, I said, I've just played in front of 40,000 people. And he went, oh, that's nice. I just sort of walked away. And I was like,
Can't
and it's the
relate.
true story. I was like,
Yeah, yeah,
nobody cares. And I ended up going it was 12 o'clock then, or half
yeah,
12, 1 o'clock, and then in the afternoon. So I thought, I'm going to go for a pint because that's what I do on the road, isn't it? So I
yeah.
go in there and I'm talking to the barmaids in this nice posh thing. It was in Corsham at the time, just down the road. And the Matthew in Arms. I remember talking to the barmaids as they were coming in, and I was sort of, as I was flittering about getting people's
Mm,
food. So I was like, "Oh, I was playing at Benicassim last night." Oh, that's nice, yeah. And I said, "Yeah, yeah, it's like 40,000 people." They said, like, and they're
yeah,
like, "Yeah, okay. Do you want to? Can I get you anything?" It's like, "No, no, I'm fine. Okay, I'll back in
yeah,
a minute." Like,
yeah, yeah.
nobody cares, and why should they? But what I'm trying to say is that bubble. Once that bubble has burst, you'll hear
Mm,
people talk about this all the time. Once the bubble is
mm,
is 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 finished and you're out of that bubble, then the wages stop, everything stops, the admiration stops. Rob, you're on stage at so and so. Someone will come and get you. Yeah, brilliant. This sort of weird, stupid life. It's a mental life,
yeah.
and I can really see, Ben, how people go off the rails.
Mm,
Band band members as well as front men and women and people. I could see how they definitely go off the rails because the minute they haven't got the adulation, it must be terrible. And I'm just a drummer.
Yeah.
So if I can feel it,
Yeah.
imagine what a singer feels like or a guitarist, whoever the front of the band is.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's awful in a way. It's
Yeah.
awful. Hence why people end up with drugs. So when people say to me, "Oh yeah, Robbie Williams," or "Oh so and so," I say, "Listen, listen. I don't care if I'm a fan of the music or not. Listen, you don't know what they're going through. You're not
Mm,
living their lives. You're not battling their battles. So do you know
mm,
what?
mm.
Just lay off. All right.
Yeah.
All right. They've got excess, yes, but you don't know what. Oh, I suppose you do. And I go, well, a little bit, yeah, actually, but just a little bit.
Yeah.
So just back off.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's a
Do
lot going on.
you do you ever listen to the Adam Buxton podcast at all?
No, I should. No, I don't. Should I?
So he interviewed David Letterman,
Oh,
and
wow.
when he was at his absolute peak, he was just getting shit constantly. And it actually got to the point where David, when he left the show, he actually had to re-educate himself on how to make phone calls with people because he was just like, I need this happening and I need some new shoes. And people would just
Yeah.
be like, go get new shoes for David. Go, go. Like, don't ask questions. Just go get him a Starbucks. Like, and he had to really like humble himself and be like, look, I'm not the hot shit anymore, you know? Like, because I know Foo Fighters were on David Letterman a lot, and some people saw that as the sort of Jules Holland funnel of how do I check out these new bands and what's
Yeah.
emerging sort of thing. And I think he really had to adjust to that. And then he got this mental Netflix show when he's like interviewing bloody Kim Kardashian and people. So I think he is an interviewer first and foremost, but when you get on a show like, Ellen,
Oh,
then
yeah.
you're just getting people just around you constantly that are just like, yes, 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 no problem, sir. I'll get that sorted for you, you know.
Totally. And you turn
And
into an
yeah,
animal. And also the flip side of that is you look how people around these so-called, assistants and stuff, goes right the way back to Elvis and even before that. No one and Michael Jackson and stuff, no one ever says no.
no.
No one said, right, when Michael said, I'm gonna get a monkey, I'm gonna sleep in a oxygen tank. No one sort of went,
Are you
are you sure
sure?
about that?
Yeah. Are you
Do you
mental?
think this is good?
Yeah.
And Elvis, should you be eating another steak? And should you
Yeah,
be
yeah.
dropping all these pills? All this kind of stuff. And any
Yeah.
star you can mention, with Prince as well, all these people should say, stop taking the drugs. You don't need that for your leg or whatever.
Mm,
Have the operation. Don't keep taking the painkillers.
mm,
Like Tom Petty, another one. And I've been around it in a very small way.
mm.
And everyone's on the payroll. It's like the White House at the moment. Everyone's on the payroll.
Yeah.
No one's sort of. I mean, in little dark corners, they're probably going, "This guy's lost his frigging mind."
Yeah.
Shit. But we're on the payroll, so let's keep this going.
Yeah, yeah.
It's that kind of
Yeah.
mentality. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's horrible. And there are times. You know what? I'm going to be honest, Ben. There was one time in Europe. I can't remember where. Maybe it was in Spain. Maybe it was in Italy. I don't know. But I got into my hotel room. It's one of these awful stories. Put my cases down. I was like, nah, not having this. Three-quarters of the way through a tour, go downstairs in the lift. I'm not having a room like that again. I always feel I get the little room, and they're all five-star hotels. They're all really nice hotels. And I go down to the desk and I go, I'm not happy with my room. And they go, oh, I'm really sorry. And I wasn't rude or anything, but I said, I've come a long way and I'm tired. I'd really like a room that does this. Is there anything else? They go, oh, well, how about this? And it had everything I wanted, Ben. I don't know what was wrong with me. I was just being a dick. And oh yes, how about room seven? Da, da, da. We'll get someone up to move your cases. I said, do you know what? I'll take the cases. Don't worry about that. And I went up in back in the lift and I looked in the mirror. There's loads of mirrors in these posh lifts. And I looked at myself and I thought, what the fuck are you doing? And I suddenly woke up. There was this mist.
Yeah.
And then I suddenly woke up and I felt really ashamed. And when I walked past them to go to the gig, the people on reception, I felt embarrassed.
Mm,
And when I came back, there's another shift, but I still felt embarrassed. And when I left the next morning, I felt embarrassed. And I thought, you know what? I've seen a little window of what Rob can
mm,
become, and I
mm,
hate it. And I don't like that, and I don't ever really want to go back there. I'm not
mm.
saying I never have, but it's so easy. How you can suddenly flip and lose your mind. Like when Bjork hit that reporter
Yeah.
many years ago, I was one of the first people to say, "Listen, you don't know what was going on." She was probably tired. She might have said, "Don't talk to me. I don't want this now." And in the end, she slapped him or whatever she did, pushed him over. It's like, oh, it's two sides.
Yeah,
But yeah, I
definitely.
was being a dick that day.
I think there's a lesson in self-awareness there though. And like nowadays, I can't even imagine being famous now. Like you see people trying to do like YouTube videos, they got their like camera and they're like, "Hey guys, welcome to my channel, blah blah blah." And
Yeah,
there's as soon as they go outside, people are like, "Can I take a picture of you?" And it's just like I'm literally filming. You know, some people want to get in on that just so that they can be in the video.
yeah,
And then like a lot of people have now started saying no to pictures if they're with their family. That's usually the big thing.
yeah,
But some people just, I imagine, back in the sort of heyday of, Peter Gabriel and stuff, it was autographs and it was, oh, I want a physical product from you. And it just felt, I don't know, it just feels very transactional. And unfortunately now with social media, you've got people like Mr. Beast. And
yeah.
if someone finds out what hotel he's in, it takes about 6 minutes for thousands of people to show up outside your hotel. And
Yes.
I don't know what hell's like, but I'm pretty sure that would be part of it. Is just this constant flurry of like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God.
It was always the thing with any artist I've worked with.
Oh yeah.
It was it was always the thing. Never give the details of the hotel away. Back in the day, before mobile
Yeah.
phones and like or internet,
Yeah.
just don't do it. It's a big no. If you pull any girls, you know, the tour manager's like, whatever you get up to,
Yeah.
great. Try not to bring them back here because it's
Yeah.
obvious that we're all here. Try and go somewhere else. If it does happen, say that she or he is the star is somewhere else in another hotel. Oh, they don't stay here. But it
Mm,
was always a big no. Just don't do it generally. Now, of course, it's like you've got no chance. And on the last few tours we did with Sue,
mm.
people just find out. I don't know how they do it. I think they think, right, well, she's playing in that venue.
Yeah.
So the nicest ones around are these four, and these people now are on mobile phones. So we'd show up somewhere, and there'd be like maybe six people, and we'd be like, "Oh, we've been rumbled." And of course, then those six people have
Hmm.
rung the other ones that are waiting at the other hotels.
Hmm.
So when we come out the next time, there's maybe 25 people there. I mean, it's never thousands, obviously, but there's maybe 25 people. Then by the time we come back at night, they've all left
Yeah.
the gig early as quick as they can, and there's more of them there.
Yeah.
And she just gets so stressed. So it gets like some kind of crazy Beatles thing. We go around the back and try and go in through the garbage entrance, or whatever you want to call it, or where
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
take in the washing. But they know that. So there's five or six of them around there. The minute the bus comes round, you can
Yeah.
see them texting. It's like, oh, and it's like a zombie film, and they all
Yeah.
come running down. Now, for us, we can go in, but with Sue, she'll say,
Yeah.
all right, right, I'll do maybe 10 or 15, but that's it.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah.
but that is it. I've
Yeah.
been doing this all my life, makes a joke of it. I've been doing all these years.
Yeah.
But it's spooky
Yeah.
and scary. This fandom thing, I mean, it's been
Mm.
around since Frank Sinatra, Bing Crosby, Lauren Hardy. There's been like crazy, maniacal fans for years. But when you're around just a little bit of it, which is only a little bit,
Mm.
but when you see those clips of, like Beatlemania and stuff, of people on top of the cars and cars caving in, and it must have been absolute horror. I mean, all right, they had some fun in the hotel rooms. I know that. We all know that. But when it comes to trying to get from A to B, you just get ripped apart. I mean, what's the fun in that? That's really scary.
Yeah.
You know,
Definitely. Yeah.
it looks great on camera. And we go, oh, heady days. But it's like, no, you hear the people talking about it and you think, actually, yeah, I wouldn't want thousands of kids banging on my window and
No.
jumping on your car. Like, sod that. And turning up at your
No.
hotel in your hotel room, coming through windows. It's all a bit mad.
I think until it happens to you, you can't really sort of understand or comment or relate because it's just like, what are you on about? Like,
Yeah.
you know, like I've only got, 1.5K on Instagram, and sometimes I think, fucking hell, there's no way 1,500 people are actually watching what I do. But, one morning I might wake up. There's actually a good example of this. It's in my head. It's The Traitors, if you watch that.
I know of it. I've never seen it, but I know
All the
of it.
people that have come off of that show are going to be absolutely loving their 15 minutes of fame right now because they've got like 200,000 followers on Instagram, and I imagine loads of companies are sending them loads of product and stuff. But
Whoa.
obviously, when a new season of Traitors comes out, they'll be pushed to the side. It's the sort of Love Island halo effect, isn't it?
It is same as
But yeah,
all the reality shows, the singing shows, and then they become a joke. And the very people that have been building them up, are now having a go at them because their stuff's in the bargain bin in the record shops. They're like,
Yeah.
"Oh, you loser!" And
Yeah,
then
yeah.
the other week they go, "Hey man, whoa, you're wicked, you
Yeah.
slay," and all that
Yeah, yeah,
nonsense.
yeah,
And
yeah.
6 months later, I mean, it's very much a British thing, you know. I mean, I've realised that traveling around the world, and I will defend not that sort of behaviour, but I like the way that we build bands up, but I don't like the way when they
Mm.
get there, all of a sudden those same people like the NME used to back in the day, would then get all snobby and go, "Oh, these guys are just in it for the money now. No, this
Yeah.
is all boring." You know, we're not we're really good at knocking people and then trying to get them down again, which is
Yeah.
weird. I
It
don't never
is weird.
Americans don't
Yeah.
tend to do that, or other places in Europe. And I
Mm.
so I'm kind of proud because we have some of the best music in the world. We built it up, but what they do once they're there and as they come down is disgraceful. I think,
Yeah.
you know. I think it's
Yeah.
bloody awful, but anyway, there you
Mm.
go.
What are some Rob Brian gig highlights or just overall musical highlights in your life? What's sort of happened up until now? What's made you go, Jesus Christ, I'm so happy that I chose this as a option, you know?
Well, originally, when I was with Hugh Cornwell, we played at Ronnie Scott's jazz club in London. Of course, he's not a jazzer, but on certain nights they have pop and rock stuff there, other styles. And I remember MTV when they did music rather than just Kardashians
Yeah.
or whatever they do these days.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know if they're still around even, but MTV were there filming some stuff. That was a proud moment. And for years, I had an MTV baseball hat, and that was kind of cool. So I thought, I've arrived somewhere. I remember doing a gig with Siouxsie Sioux at the Royal Festival Hall, and Yoko Ono was the person who was curating it, if you like, the Meltdown Festival, and Debbie Harry and some other sort of big female artists were there that know Susie. And being around that was another sort. We did two
Mm.
nights. We were the only band that did 2 or 3 nights because we sold out loads. Um, and Grace Jones possibly, I can't remember, but being around that scene was like seeing people like that was like that's kind of cool. Playing with Susie again, there's pictures above me here. I know you can't see it, but playing in front of 50,000 people 2 years ago at the Pasadena Cruel World Festival, which is like a goth festival. She
Okay.
headlined that. That was amazing. That's probably the biggest crowd I've ever played to,
Yeah.
apart from um, this other thing, which I'll say, which is the Jonathan Ross show, which went out to millions
Mm.
that night. That was kind of crazy. That
Yeah.
was a highlight, you know. And also doing Jules Holland
Yeah.
show. That was a massive highlight. And the next day, people messaging, because again, it's true, everything changes. I had drummer friends of mine from Bristol sort of saying, "Oh, my wife thinks you're a bit lush now, you bastard," and all that, you know. When we did Jonathan Ross, there was this one scene, because I play this traditional grip that we spoke about.
Yeah.
It's common, but I mean, it's not that common, I should say, but it's not that uncommon. But anyway, I remember one of the techs, you know, with their headphones on, was staring at me during the rehearsals, and at the end, I said, "Excuse me," I said, why were you crouching down looking at my snare drum?" And he said, "That's really interesting, the way you play. We're gonna have some moments of that." So, you know, however many million come into Friday Night with Jonathan Ross and watch it, a few of them got my left hand grip in their front of their faces so many times. That was another moment that
Yeah.
people say, "God, your fucking left hand, oh, it's on TV all the time." So, you know, there's sort of those moments, the Grammy winning moments, you know, getting these certificates behind me. They were another moment, you know,
Yeah.
getting those. You sort of, you know, you see maybe an empty diary for a while and you think, "Oh, that's a bit scary." And sometimes I just do sit and think back, you know. I know that doesn't make the bank manager happy, but it's important to get your mind
Mm.
in shape. And I
Mm.
think, like you just asked me, what's good? And I see these pictures, see these things, and I think, do you know what? You know, I know more work's going to come in, and funny enough, this year's looking incredibly good. Um, but yeah, you get those moments, and it's important to take stock and just not pat yourself on the back. That's not the thing, but just be proud and think, you know, I've come this far. All those experiences have all led to where I am now. Every
Mm.
record I've played on, every drum clinic I've played to, every student I've given a lesson to, every
Mm.
paradiddle I've paradiddled.
Mm.
You know, it's all part of this massive journey, and I'm proud of it all. You know,
Yeah. Would you
to
say
have
fulfillment comes before money for you then?
it does. I mean, I
Yeah.
know, there's probably loads of people living in skips that could say a similar thing that, "Oh yeah, this is where it gets me." I'm not saying that. You've got to be sensible but with the way I've chiseled my career, and always touch wood that it keeps going this way. Yeah, every good thing, every good deed, you do every good session leads on to
Mm.
another. From Hugh Cornwell, it went to Kid Kroll and the Coconuts. Then it span across to modern English. Then it spins across to Simple Minds, sessions with Peter Gabriel, and it just keeps going and going and going. A few little months of fallow periods, but then something else comes in. But the thing is, even before the internet, you had to put the legwork in. Going to jam sessions, leaving your card with people,
Yeah, yeah.
a physical thing. And I still tell students to do that now, Ben. I say, get a card done. It's all very well when you're drunk putting a thing in the phone, but if he or she they pull out a card, say, who's this? Oh, that's who I met last night. Okay, I put that on my phone.
Yeah.
All those things, you've got to put in the legwork. And as I say, people say a lot of it is luck, but you know what? Luck runs out eventually. Yeah,
Mhm.
luck is a part of it, knowing the right people. But I always say to people, the minute you sit on that drum stool, an audition or whatever you're at, and you suck, that's when your luck runs out. Luck gets you there to that situation, but then
Mm.
you've got to deliver. And so many bullshitters, that's where they suddenly scoot off into the distance.
Yeah, they're like a deer in the headlights. I've always been told that
Absolutely. Yeah.
it's
So they can do the drink, hang, do the drugs, do the
yeah,
seed. Well, but when it comes to actually doing the work, that's when people like me, a bit straighter, come along and say, "Listen, man, I can't do all that crazy lifestyle you do, but I'll
yeah,
play great drums for you, and I'll have a few beers with you, but
yeah.
you can keep the rest."
I've always seen it as a luck meets preparation sort of Venn diagram. Because like you
Yeah,
say, luck will show you, the place and the time. But if you're not prepared, you're especially with session work, I imagine,
yeah,
you're gone, off to the next person that emailed. There might be
exactly.
a list of 200 people that have interested, but yeah.
And it's a difficult mix. I mean, I meet people that frustrated musos that said, "I got my music degree and I got this and I got that and I still can't get any work." And it's like, listen, it doesn't work like that. A bit of paper won't get you into a gig. I've
No,
never said to anyone I'm a grade 8 drummer. They want to make sure you're a good guy, good person, you
yeah,
play well, they can hang with you. Some gigs I didn't get because I wasn't right. I went for the Mission. I don't mind saying it. That goth band, the Mission. I went for that and I didn't get it. And they were big fans of Siouxsie and they're big fans of my drumming. But they just, and I'm glad, Ben, because I found
mm,
out later that they're massive party people. As soon as they get on the bus,
right,
they're on it. And I'm not really, I mean, I party after a gig, don't get me wrong, but I'm not like, let's just get in the bus and let's get mental from
yeah,
here on
yeah,
out.
yeah,
I'm not that guy. So
yeah,
I wasn't right for the gig. And sometimes, students say I didn't get the gig. I say, look, it's not just you playing. There's always the personality.
mm,
Could you hang? Does your nose sort of go, oh, when they said they're going to do coke later or something? It's like there's
yeah,
so many reasons you don't want to be around a scene like that. If they
yeah,
love you as a person, as a player, that's the gig for you. If you don't get it, there's probably a very good reason, and it's not always the playing. So don't cry over it.
mm,
Get on to the next one because you weren't the right person. And again, like you said, when people have a go at you, that's what you got to do. You got to sort of step up and go, right, I own that, fine. But I'm not going to get tattoos all over my arms. I'm not going
mm,
to wear a sort of wife beater t-shirt and be that rock drummer because that's not who I am. So go to the next guy or girl, person that is.
yeah. Yeah, no, fair enough. A couple more questions for you. Drumming inspirations, top three, and how you've incorporated those styles into your playing. And
Oh,
like we discussed earlier, is there any new drummers or current drummers that you're currently looking at and thinking, I wonder how these people are going to get on?
the three drummers that I watch the most, I would say there's a jazz drummer in New York called Ari Honig, who is just mental. And I saw Bill Bruford talking about him the other day. So I thought, oh, I'm in good company if Bill Bruford's spouting about him too. Um, there's a guy he's sort of mainframe now, really, but Mark Giuliano, he's another he played on David Bowie's Black Star album. He's another session guy that does jazz as well, but he's another drummer that I watch, and every time I see him, he just blows me away. I think he's fresh, he's bringing something new to the table. I must confess, rock drummer wise, I don't know many. I don't rock is a thing.
Hmm.
I don't listen to much rock music anymore. So anything you want to send me, please do. I
Yeah.
know the playing is amazingly good. It's just a lot of it doesn't come up on my feed because I'm always looking at jazzy and
Yeah.
progressive music or
Yeah. Yeah.
whatever. Um,
Hmm.
and the other drummer, I would say, his name's gone. He'll come to me in a minute. I'll come back to him. The inspirations. I'll sneak Dad as a number four, obviously. I would say Buddy Rich was a massive influence. I can't deny that. I don't like everything he played, but as a technician and swinger of a big band, and his dynamics and just everything was just phenomenal. And the list could change from there. I mean, Ringo was a massive influence, but I love Manu Katché's drumming, who plays with Sting and Peter Gabriel.
Hmm.
His drumming is the nuances in his playing is just sublime. I've learned so much from just listening and watching him. Stuart Copeland is another
Yeah.
one. Police,
Yeah.
I know he
Yeah.
speeds up, and everyone knows he speeds up, and he knows he speeds up, and he's sometimes too loud. But you know what? What he does is just phenomenal. And of course, there's Nate Smith as well. You'll have to stop me because I've gone for ages.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't do three. There's too many. If we were having a beer somewhere, we'd probably go through all sorts of people. I'm not going
Yeah.
to say John Bonham. I've got Led Zepp records. I loved him. Ian Pace, out of the Rock Drummers, was my drummer from Deep Purple. I thought he was and still is phenomenal. He's a lot older and slower now, but
Yeah.
those he's drumming on those Deep Purple records. I'm not saying he's better than Bonham because I always start this thing and people write to me
Yeah.
and go,
People
"You've
love
got to."
tribes, don't they? People love
They
camps of like
do
Coke, Pepsi.
totally, yeah, and it's
Just enjoy it.
stupid.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, you tell these fans that they all hung out together and they
Mm.
weren't enemies, like the Stones and the Beatles and
Yeah.
Prince, Michael
Yeah.
Jackson, or whatever, Blur, Oasis. It was all a bit of a fucking laugh, really. They were all mates. Led
Yeah.
Zeppelin, Deep Purple were mates. They were competition in record sales, but they were mates. So, yeah,
Yeah.
but
Fair
for,
enough.
like you say, ardent fans, they get like, oh no,
Yeah.
you shall not pass. It's definitely Bonham's the best drummer ever. It's like, no, he's not. He's one
Yeah.
of them. He's
Yeah.
one of the great
Yeah.
drummers.
Yeah.
There's
Awesome.
so many.
Got two more, then I'll
Okay,
leave you to it.
that's all right.
Any questions for me as someone that's been doing a podcast for coming up to 6 years now?
Yeah,
Any
why did you start
questions?
doing this? What was your main drive for doing this? What is your yeah,
So
drive? What is it?
lockdown happened in March of 2020, and
Oh
by the
yeah.
time October hit, I was so bored that I could probably eat my own face. So I
I
used it as
tried.
an opportunity and a tool to reconnect with a lot of people from school and
Mm,
just literally just create conversations that people might want to listen to.
great.
Because a lot of people really suffered with loneliness during COVID.
Oh yeah.
So it very quickly went from friends to I'm gonna email the guy from Wheatus and I'm gonna email the guy that was in David Lee Roth. And then suddenly Brendan from Wheatus and Billy Sheehan got back to me and I was like, what the fuck is happening?
What?
And then I
Amazing.
started getting YouTubers on and streamers because that had a huge uptick, as you can
Right.
probably imagine, during
Oh,
COVID.
yeah.
So yeah, I kind of just naturally progressed and I just found that I quite enjoy interviewing people and asking questions and I'm quite a curious person.
Great.
So yeah, it's
Good for
kind
you,
of
man.
been a bit of a weekly grind ever since. Even if I'm not physically recording, I'm still uploading, I'm still putting posts up on Instagram, I'm still trying to connect with
Yeah.
potential guests in the future and trying to keep an ear out on the landscape of YouTube because it's always evolving all the time.
Oh,
But yeah,
about
I enjoy
time.
it. So I'll just keep doing it as long as it doesn't get too stressful.
No, man, do it. Do it. It's good for you. It's good for people. It's good for us.
Yeah.
I think it's great.
Hmm.
I mean,
Yeah.
COVID was terrible, but it did bring other people, like yourself, brought you forward to something you thought you'd never ever do.
Yeah.
You might have thought about it on a coffee break, but thought, don't be an idiot. And then
Yeah.
someone like that happens, and yeah,
Yeah.
it made me do various things too. So yeah, no,
Yeah.
it was a sad time, but
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, we dug deep.
Absolutely. Last thing is let's
Okay.
promote the Drum Fest in Weymouth because that's probably the next time I'm going to physically meet you in the real world.
Oh, that's going to be great. I'm so looking
Yeah.
forward to that, Ben. Yes.
Do you know the lineup to that by any chance? Because I am
Yeah, well, I
massively
only know the
underprepared.
I'm underprepared for that. I know the three
Yeah.
on the main stage doing their main thing. It's obviously there's going to be I'm on at
Got it.
1:45. Then
Got
after
it.
me, I think at 2:30 or something. It's going to be
Yeah.
Emma, and what's
Emma
her
Taylor. Got it. Yeah.
Taylor, and I'm trying to think what her website is.
Ooh, I'm not sure.
Oh God, so annoying. I was only talking about her today in the website, but she's a great educator, and I think she does some sort of a few wedding bands and bits and bobs. I'm not sure what she does actually, but yeah, she's got a massive online following, followed by and headlining as he should be, the amazing Thomas Lang, who
Yeah.
is just phenomenal, and he's someone that I've said hello to at drum shows, past each other. And I've got all of his DVDs still somewhere, and it's going to be a bit of a hero thing playing on the same stage as that man.
Yeah.
He's He's a machine. He's amazing.
Hmm.
Um, and there's going to be loads of stalls there as well. A load of different drum manufacturers and
Hmm.
bespoke drum manufacturers from the UK are going to be there selling stuff. It's
Hmm.
going to be it's like the Liverpool drum show, but take away 50% of the other stalls and bits and
Yeah.
bobs. So it's just a nice, tight little show, and
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's going to be great.
It's at Weymouth
Yeah,
Pavilion on the
that's right.
22nd of March.
Yeah.
And tickets, I think, are £20 each. So I'm debating taking my 12-year-old along. He might not
Okay.
want to come because currently everything is hassle. So I
Oh,
might just go without it.
I can imagine. I can
But
imagine.
yeah, so yeah, that's cool. And obviously you're on the poster, which is quite nice, I think.
Oh
Are
yeah,
you?
yeah. They need to
Yeah.
sort that
What is
poster
you?
out because
Yeah.
they've got Emma at the top, and there's nothing wrong with that. But really, Thomas is below me. He
Yeah,
should
yeah.
have where Emma. It should be Emma,
Yeah.
right? Thomas should be where Emma is, and then where I am should be Emma, and then I should be at the bottom where Thomas is. So it's all a bit wonky. I've never really understood that.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
need to
fair
talk to them
enough.
about
Yeah.
that. But yeah, no, it's gonna be a great weekend. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah.
It's gonna be fun.
Is it
Oh
more of a
yes.
case of like backing tracks are playing and you're playing drums? Because I doubt that you'll be able to do like a full drum clinic from a stage, shouting down at
Yeah.
people on a barrier. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, it's a weird one that. I'm sort of working out what I'm going to do in my set really because you've only got 45 minutes or something, which is about right. You don't need more than that. So, sometimes I take my Roland SPDS along to trigger sounds and stuff, and I will take it. But sometimes I find that when I'm in a routine and stuff, I don't always use it. And
Hmm.
I talk to people afterwards, and they're like, "You didn't need it. That was really interesting what you were playing." But yeah, I'll take some ideas along with me, some stuff from my solo album that's coming
Yeah.
out, later on this year. I
Hmm.
keep nagging for that. And maybe this new project I'm doing with Carolina called Midnight Neon, which is the two of us, drums and vocals and the electronics. Might do something from that, one of the songs from that, do something song related, and then let all the
Hmm.
cats and dogs out with the other solo stuff later on, Because
Yeah.
I think people get bored as well with if it's showboating all the time,
Yeah.
that's not real drumming to me, That's only, 20%. There's so
Yeah.
much more to look at.
Do you know roughly when those things that you've just mentioned are going to be released? Because we'll get you back on when
I'd
they're
love to. I was going to
pertinent
say that,
time.
man.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, the stuff we're doing as Midnight Neon, that's kind of slow in the process because we're busy doing other stuff. So
Yeah.
that's building, but we're going to be dropping some singles every now and again. So maybe when we drop the first proper single, we
Hmm.
could come back on or something and talk about it then. But we're
Yeah.
basically writing an album, as if anyone buys albums anymore. But in
Yeah.
my old
Yeah.
old head here, old
Hmm.
head, I'm getting it together. We're compiling it as like maybe 8 or 10 songs. And as mine's taking more of a backseat because I'm now onto this, but it will happen. It will happen. And I used to give dates, and I sometimes reach release dates, and sometimes I never. And I got people on my YouTube saying, "You said it'd be out in August," and it never did. And I thought, why am I doing that? Don't put the pressure on yourself because
Yeah.
if I suddenly get busy, or the people I want to use aren't around, there's
Yeah.
so many factors into this band that you just
Yeah.
can't. If you
Hmm.
had your own studio,
Yeah. Yeah.
and limitless money, you could just say, "Oh yeah, I'm going to get you, and you," but it doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm doing it now in dribs and drabs, leaving little teasers on my YouTube and Instagram, and people seem very interested in it, which is the main thing. You drop a reel, people, 2,000 people see it, and you get all this feedback. You're like, "Shit, man, this is great." So it's
Yeah.
a good way just to test the water, and I'm just trying to get into this system of how it is now.
Yeah.
The way
Yeah.
I remember it years ago is gone. It's archaic. So I need to
Yeah.
get into how things are done now. Don't think of
Yeah.
an album, in mentally think of an album, but they're just a bunch of songs and
Yeah.
they'll get released as individual tracks. It's kind of weird, but
Mm. I know what you
yeah,
mean.
I'm battling with it, but I'm getting there. But it'll all be later this year and mine probably into next year, probably,
Yeah.
realistically.
Yeah. It's important to try and feed a hungry audience though, because otherwise your album will drop, and I've seen that happen so many times where people have gone overly ambitious. It's the first band they've ever been in, and it's like I've just dropped an EP, and people
No one
just,
cares.
and it's just like, oh shit, like what do I do now? Like, you know,
Mistimed it. Yeah.
and they end up, without sounding negative, they end up just teaching because
No,
they've had their gig time and it didn't work out for them, and that can obviously long term that can really mess your head up, I imagine.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And Karina keeps saying to me, let's not take our foot off the gas. We've got to keep going. Got to keep going. And she's right. She's younger than me as well, so she's more on the scene of that. And So, we're getting something ready. There's a song called Crimson, which I dropped teasers for, or we did last year.
Crimson is the color of my
And dropped one again just late last year, which got loads of likes and watches and bits and bobs on Instagram
Yeah.
and YouTube, called 100 Night Passes. So these two songs, they're pretty much ready to go. Just need to finish some sort of promotional video. We've got snippets.
Yeah.
So they're ready to go. So it's not like we're sat on it going, oh, I'm not sure. There's two ready to go. We just have to sit down and say, right, this is a thing. And off we go. And we're going to be gigging it later this year. So,
Awesome.
we've got to get 2 or 3 songs finished from Logic to the live playing scenario.
Yeah.
So we're ahead of the game, much more ahead of the game than I'm letting on, really. So it's
Feel like
exciting.
I
But yeah,
could-
you're right. We need to release stuff. Yeah, absolutely. Because people go, who cares eventually?
Yeah,
Whatever.
Yeah. I feel like I could talk to you forever, but
Yeah,
Zoom
you
is
too,
about
mate.
to end.
I told you we'd have to use all the time.
Absolutely, yeah. So I just really quickly want to give a sort of mention to Echo Town Studios because obviously that's where I first met you.
Yeah.
And Grace and Nick are two of the calmest, just driven, silently introverted leaders. They're very nice people to be around, and
Agreed.
they're very facilitative. And I've probably done 1 out of 10 podcast recordings there now, and that's just because of financial implications. I would quite happily record there every time.
I bet.
But yeah, I don't know. This is probably a bit of a weird one for you, but when you first went there, did you miss the
Yeah.
turning?
To be honest with you, I was panicking like hell because they sent me an email with photos even of what
Yeah.
not to do and what to do. And I was driving along that road. I pulled over. There's like a few lay-bys on that long
Yeah.
road. And I pulled over on one of them, got the phone up again, and thought, right, not if it looks like that, that's no. And this is a yes. And to be honest with you, my sat nav took me right there, Ben. I was so
That's
lucky.
good.
I
That's
was
good.
like, it took me right there, but I've heard the horror stories. Hence
Yeah.
why they send this thing saying no
Yeah.
with this picture, yes.
It's
So
like when you forget to turn off at a motorway and it's like turn left in 57 miles and you're like,
shit.
ah, fuck. But yeah,
No, mine took me
awesome.
straight there.
Good.
And I went there on a social because I'd met them up here. They came to a gig that someone was doing up here.
Oh,
And
cool.
that's how I met them, through someone else. And
Yeah.
I went down and hung with them, and they gave me some t-shirts. And I mean, their scene. I mean, you can't see in here, but I've got a very 70s kind of thing going on here
Yeah.
with my carpet and everything. It's all very brown, yellow,
Yeah.
orangey vibes, and purple, and that's totally their vibe. And I went in there, and the music they love is all cool, and it's just like, you guys are fucking so cool.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
I said to them, we've got to put on some stuff down at your studio, and that's how it
Yeah.
all started. And that's how I met you. That's how I
Yeah.
met plenty of other people out of that Joff and everyone. It's
Awesome.
great. It's
Yeah.
such a healthy scene. They're lovely people.
Yeah. There's definitely a sense of calm when I go there.
I can believe,
yeah.
man.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Awesome. Well, it's been lovely speaking to you. Thanks, guys, for watching, and I'll speak to you soon.